When you go to see an EMDR trauma therapist to resolve trauma, the therapist will take a history, which depending on the therapist may be between 1 to 3 sessions. In the history, they're looking for if there's any reason that you are not suited to EMDR. For example, people who have dissociative identity disorder, which is similar to schizophrenia because they can split off into multiple personalities, are not suited to EMDR, not ideally suited. They can be treated, but with a lot of caution and a lot of careful watching. And some of them shouldn't be treated at all. So they're looking for that. They're also looking for if there's any medical reasons that you can't do it. They also need to know what the traumas are likely to be. So in taking a history, they can get an idea of whether you have a lot of complex trauma or if you have just a few trauma events that are fairly straightforward standalone events. If you just had one standalone event and it was easy to diagnose, so if you actually knew what the cause of the trauma was, for example, a phobia, that can be resolved in as little as 1 session. If you have complex traumas, which are traumas that lead into the uncovering of additional traumas, stored in your hippocampus and unprocessed, if you have those traumas, sometimes when resolving one trauma, the hippocampus will give some insight to the therapist into the existence of other unresolved traumas that are stored there. And at that point, the therapist will finalise the resolving of the trauma that they're working on and will speak to the client and say, okay, we'll contain this trauma for this session. Would you like to work on this trauma for another session? Sometimes in between sessions, the subconscious during REM sleep will actually have some resolution of the secondary trauma anyway, but generally it does require some more EMDR to totally resolve it. But any resolution of trauma actually increases your rational thinking, so that is always good. So really the answer is how long is a piece of string? It may be 1 session, it may be multiple sessions, and there may be that when you start treating one trauma and realise the positive advantage that that's had in your life, that you may, like I did, go on to treating all of them.